provar 1, 2, 3, 4.
ettorna. Jag ser ju att jag kommer Welcome to TEDx in Luleå. My name is Staffan Lundberg and I am a project manager at the Luleå Technological University, CDT. First I'm going to talk about what is TEDx. TEDx is an interdisciplinary conference that has taken place every year in Vancouver. In the spirit of the ideas we're spreading, TED has also resulted in a program called TEDx, which is a program for local self-organized events that brings people together and share a TED-like experience. Many of the ideas that are spread during TED Talks have started at a university, and universities all around the world continue to create some of the most fascinating ideas worth spreading. With TEDxLuleåUniversity of Technology, we want you to gather people to share ideas and discuss current themes. We hope it will be a local forum for ideas that inspire people to change and improve their lives, their future, and ultimately the whole world. I had to admit it's a challenge to speak to you in English, but I also promised that I would play a piece of music that meant something special to the speakers when they went on stage. But considering the time of the year, I decided to play a piece of Christmas music instead. I also had to mention that in relation to the original program, one of our speakers, Anna Stålbröst, will not participate since she's caught a cold. We regret this, but we had to adapt to the pandemic situation. But before I start, I want to introduce my colleagues from the university, Heather Jaksik, Marie Nolin, and Johanna Lindberg, who's arranged this event, and give them a round of applause. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome our first speaker of the day, Gertrud Åström. Gertrud is a business and organizational developer, and she's one of Sweden's leading gender equality experts. In 2004, Gertrud was appointed to lead the government's work on gender equality policy and contributed to the report Power to Shape Society and Its Own Life. Today, she runs her own company. It's called Hela Hutt, with a focus on the importance of gender equality, and it's regularly engaged as a lecturer and expert on gender issues. I want to welcome Gertrud with this little Christmas carol.
So much. My company is not Hela Hutt, it's Hela Hut, and that means whole sustainable development, though Hut perhaps should be good to talk about today, but I will not talk about that. We live in a time that promotes extremism in many different ways. This is a problem for democracy, since democracy needs truth and extremism is built on lies. Democracy is a system, an ongoing dialogue. It is built on the ability to take reason, facts, and knowledge into decision-making. Extremism is also a problem for human rights. because extremism lacks the capacity to take care of other beings. It tends to use individuals as means and violence to get what they want for their interest. It is dangerous. It fuels conflict within societies and between countries, and is a real threat to peaceful development. Extremism never asks contrafactual questions, but that is what we have to do. Our time is in great need of reality checks, exercised of all of us, wherever we are. Gender equality is my field, and also a field with a history of great success. It has given me an extensive experience of reality checks and a profound understanding of why equal power, equal rights and conditions for women and men carry the essence of democracy and human rights. Gender equality is a normative that requires change. It will never happen in status quo. If you ask for change, you must be able to explain why are we going to do something and what are we going to do. Being a young woman in the 70s, as I was, when the new policy on gender equality launched a range of reforms to take care of all the problems that we knew of, that convinced me that changes can take place if they are understood to be reasonable and justified. The reforms in the 70s, they were based on facts. Sex disaggregated statistics, research, investigations, and with the involvement of many different organizations. In a few years, separate taxation, parental leave, free abortion, public child care, Gender Equality Act and the Gender Equality Ombudsman were established. This transformed everyday life of women and men. In less than 15 years, hundreds of thousands of women entered the labor market, got money of their own, didn't have to choose between taking care of the family or pursuing their education or professional life. Childcare was built. And neither did men have to choose between family or their professional lives. So these few years is one of the fastest and most profound transformations in Swedish society ever. And childbirth did not drop, men did not become unemployed, both men and women were healthy, etc. This transformation was phrased the women-friendly state. The old agreement between the state and a patriarchal family model had been transferred to a gender-equal welfare state. And I have lived my life in that model with family, children and all, and I am grateful to working with it. The effects of the reforms on the 70s, they were thoroughly investigated. I, for instance, just one example, I worked with representation in state agencies, the parental leave, social contract studies. I worked with unions on class and sex issues. I assessed sports organizations to find out about representation in decision-making and the distribution of resources to women and men. I made a study on an organization ransacking 60 years of annual reports to get information on representation, resources, and the norms in their activities. I called the study "Nothing Fascinates as Much as Facts," because when analyzing the facts from a sex-gender system, power system, the patterns came clear. This led to the 3R method: representation, resources, realia, which I developed to answer one question, the power question: who gets what on what conditions? The 3R method is not normative, it is factual. It gives us information on what we have, not what to do. What to do stems from our goals. Anyway, all in all these analyses led me to a new strategic direction into the main building, advocating for equality between women and men, being part of the solution of problems in all policy fields. When training the government on this new strategy, the Prime Minister asked me, "What do you think we should do?" And I think that was the best question ever, and I have carried it with me ever since. In 2005, I was honored when given the opportunity to lead a government committee on gender equality policy with a mission to formulate new national goals, later decided by the Parliament and still the current ones. Already then, authoritarian ideas were spread, and also a terminology with floating and relativist messages. Anything could be combined with anything in an infinite number of ways. So I decided to let the committee become an act of resistance, a deliberate pushback on the authoritarian backlash and a rejection of relativism becoming more and more extreme. The overarching goal of this committee and the ones we have is based on the principle of democracy and human rights. Women and men are to have the same power to shape society and their own lives. And power, needs to be stressed perhaps, is not a personal quality, it is about relations. The sub-goals highlights the same rights and opportunities for women and men in, for instance, to be active citizens and to shape the conditions for decision-making in society. Or another goal, to have the same opportunities and conditions as regards paid work, which give economic independence throughout life. That was the first time that the economic situation for retired women and men entered gender equality policy. And just a last example of the goals, the inconvenient one. Men's violence against women must stop. Human rights for women and men without distinction is our moral basis. It ensures dignity of the individual and guarantee freedom from oppression. This has a very special meaning for the relation between women and men, as that relation is very specific and basic. It is about the complex rebirth of humanity, which shapes entire societies by laws, regulation, reforms, distribution of money, and also religions, traditions, and culture. The Convention on the Rights of Women, CEDAW, deals as the only UN convention with the human reproduction. No one else. The convention is based on the special role of women in the human procreation as the starting point for oppression of women, of controlling women, or controlling childbirth, controlling children. Therefore, the rights of women in the convention are guaranteed based on women's biological sex, which men don't have. It's not based on gender and not on any identity. And the convention's role is to eliminate subordination of women, and that is gender. Today we experience an authoritarian slide, which we know very well. We have discussed this, we are familiar with it. But also an extremist, relativist, both liberal and left, slide. Not yet openly discussed. None of them have an interest in gender equality or women's rights. None of them have economic prosperity for society or individuals in their goals. They serve other interests. We now witness both a shrinking of space and rights in society for women, as well as a changing and damaging use of extremist terminology. When we don't reference women anymore, when sex identity is said to be equivalent or to replace sex in law, in policy, in social practice, we undermine the Convention on the Rights of Women. We undermine democracy. We undermine truth. We might as well accept the earth to be flat as a pancake, because some people feel it is, as well as a globe. We must show that words carry realities. When women are eradicated or reduced to commodities to be controlled in families or owned and bought in pornography, in prostitution, in the surrogacy industry, I say these are lines not to be crossed. It must be clear that we oppose all forms of discrimination against women and girls that result from patriarchal interests or by replacing sex with sex identity or gender identity. The risk is watering down of years and years of work, and that is a red line. We defend the obvious, that inherent to the principle of equality between women and men is the concept that all human beings, regardless of sex, are free to develop their personal abilities, to pursue their professional careers and make choices without the limitations set by stereotypes or rigid gender roles or prejudices. The red line is when this means depriving others of their rights. And that is the contrafactual question. That is the reality check inherent in the very Human Rights Convention. It is facts, not diamonds, as Marilyn Monroe sang, that is a girl's best friend. But it is also the best friend of all men who don't want to live in a society where the oppression of women is assumed to be in their interest or high on their personal agenda. We are in Norrbotten, a truly transformative place and time. Some say this is Klondike. I don't approve of that, because Klondike only meant grabbing and exploitation. And we know a lot about exploitation and grabbing here in Norrbotten. But this is Norrbotten 2021. This is where we search for sustainable development and not exploitation. This is creaternity, a new model on how to live on Earth, doing reality checks on production, on business models, on the environment, on human situations and cultures, using democracy and counteracting damaging and extremist interests in search of a world-standing exhibition. This is where a human agreement between women and men, built on dignity and truth, should be our legacy for next generations to come. This is our human capacity, our vision of how it could be, our efforts to get there, and our ability to imagine how wonderful it will be. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gertrud. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For a very, I must say, very delivering or give us your opinion on this very actual issue. It was a pleasure to listen to you.
Thank you
very
so much. Thank you.
But it's not Christmas Eve yet.
No.
No. But we want to give you a little present, even if it's a couple of weeks to Christmas Eve. Thank you very much, Gertrud.
Thank you so much. It's never too early for Christmas. No, thank you. Thank you so much.
Now I have the pleasure to welcoming our next speaker, Hanna Linderstål. Hanna is the CIO at Earhart Business Protection Agency, which works to increase business and government knowledge about the impact of information and virtual threats. Hanna will talk about how people can use technology and how ignorant leadership creates a great deal of uncertainty, and also how it can create trust in times of change. We'll welcome Hanna with this little Christmas carol.
Thank you. What if I told you I've seen you naked? Do I need to explain that? Well, what I'm talking about is your digital persona, the information you leave about yourself online. Every day we leave a lot of data online, and we share it willingly. We share information about our lunch, how we decorated the Christmas tree, who we are friends with, what we like, what we dislike. Every day we share information, and then I'm not talking about the metadata, you know, the data about the data, just everything that we share. We share information about our life in social media. We share digital information about our habits, data that tells what suits you. But when you put this information in the hands of an opponent that wants to mislead us, it's really dangerous. And just as we don't realize how naked we are, we have difficulty seeing when we're being manipulated. My name is Hannah. I work with social media analysis, as you might guess, and online research. I've been fascinated with the internet since the middle of the 90s. In the beginning, the social media wasn't there yet, but I jumped on the train as soon as it got there. I researched digital vulnerabilities on social media platforms and internet-connected systems. Sometimes I do it as a part of an investigation. It could be an organization that are being afraid that someone is spying on them, or sometimes I do it as a research on disinformation in a larger scale. And when I say that, I'm talking about disinformation that meddles with elections, so it's pretty big stuff. Disinformation, the kind that influence elections, the hidden, the deceptive strategies, has become a method for actors to actually influence us. So when I say I've seen you naked, I actually have. So, I'm sorry. Let's see. I'm going to go do a test. So I take my friend Jane here. This is average Jane. And she's active like most of us. I just took like a typical person in Sweden. She's active on Facebook, Instagram. First, Facebook. Of course, what do we do there? We like stuff. We get angry. We comment. We join groups. Sometimes we don't like Facebook. We have to join it anyway because maybe someone at work has Facebook and said we have to have a group there. She's active in LinkedIn as well because she want to have her resume up there and show what she's good at. Who has been working with before. She's active on Twitter. Not so much, but she likes it. It happens some things there. She follows some journalists that are commenting online. And she's active on Snapchat. Snapchat she uses more for chatting, but anyway, she's active. And she watches YouTube videos. And don't forget TikTok. She loves TikTok. I mean, haven't you been scrolling there sometimes and you're like, oh my God, it's 3 a.m. How did I get here? Oh, I liked it. And you just keep on going. So she's active like many of us in many, many channels. So I try to do a test because she likes, she shares, she comments, and I'm going to go somewhere with this. So in my imagination, we are 103 people here. Are you with me? Yeah, okay, good. So this is you, guys. Because if you saw on the perfect first slide, oh, I have to back it, I'm sorry. Is it Jane back? I just took her post. I totally forgot to tell you. Every time Jane has published something, liked, or shared something, I put it together. So she's done it 12,869 times on Facebook. Every time she done it on Instagram was not so much, more than 1,000. She done the same on LinkedIn. She comments stuff, she writes on her work. I don't know how many of you have been on LinkedIn. It's more like, I'm very proud to pronounce that I have been doing this for a long time, or I have this new opportunity. And she's been on Twitter for like 6,100 times since the beginning. And further on, so I got this number, 38,361 posts that she's done something online. She obviously not Donald Trump, because he like posts more than a bot factory. But 38,361 times since she started her internet career, she has been posting online. So if we do that on you guys, and you happen to be 103 people, as in my imagination, that would be like 103, and the average day number, like 3,951 data points. Oh my God, I've seen you naked. Have you posted so much? For real? And this is just the data that you share with me willingly. And you have to know that the other side, the metadata, the data about the data, is much, much more. So now when we put that data together, we have a lot of data. Online communication has changed the information landscape. More voices were added, and speech seems to be freer than ever. We depended more and more on social media, and now our virtual identity is actually as important as our physical one. I even heard a podcast just recently about internet connectivity when someone said, well, access to internet and social media is a human right. That kind of got me thinking. Is social media as important as the right, the freedom right of religion, education, and freedom of speech? Is social media the freedom of speech? From the beginning, that was my belief. That social media was the essence of freedom of speech. Everyone could go to this, get the same opportunity, go online and communicate. The online democracy was free, transparent, and available. And everybody got the same opportunity to speak their mind. The farmer from Bracciano in Italy was chatting online. The shop owner from Luleå in Sweden and the president of the United States was all talking on the same platform at the same time. They can comment each other and they can share information. That's pretty cool, actually. In the beginning of a social media development, that was the amazing idea. Online communication for everyone. Platforms such as Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and also later TikTok spread fast over the world. They are free, the same for everyone, and you don't want to be excluded, do you? The social media platforms want to connect to more and more people. And to do that, they need reliable high-speed internet, of course. Areas in the world that are not connected as well yet are getting in touch with new internet projects such as Facebook connectivity, now called Meta Internet for All. Suddenly people starting using internet through social media channels. And social media became the entrance to our online activity for most of us. And through our virtual identity, we not only talk to friends, share pictures of our lunch, we also now read our news and form our opinion about the world through social media. We read the news that our friends share, that the influencers we follow share, that the groups we are joining are discussing, and that is what's forming our beliefs of the world and society. The virtual world is blooming and change is always in the air. But I have to admit, lately I actually changed my opinion about social media. Do you really believe that social media is free? Do they give this opportunity and entertainment to us all for free? Well, we all have to pay a price. And the price we pay is information about our habits, position data, what devices we use, when we use them, what you surf online on, what you buy online. I know, even the embarrassing stuff. What we feel like, what we dislike, who we trust, what makes us angry. In short, social media platforms today and other tech giants strip us naked. They know more about us and our feelings than we do ourselves. The money machine social media is built to keep us online as much as possible, as long as possible. It's built to feed us with more what we like, so we have to stay, and we do. At the same time, algorithms behind advertising is matching us with sellers, and other algorithms steer what we can see and feed us with content matching what we have been engaging with before. Things that we like, that make us comment, that make us share, interact, and be a good user in the system. The algorithm gives our mind the recognition and attention that we crave. And we stay online. And as we stay, the algorithm learns more about us. And steer us into more discussions, and more groups, and more communities that are alike ourselves. They feed us with posts that are emotional, provoking happiness, joy, irritation, and anger. Emotional posts keep us online, especially the angry ones. The algorithm control started with small steps, and in the beginning we really liked it. But has become utterly clear the last year and a half is that social media platforms are much less about open exchange and discussion, but the perfect tool for spreading disinformation, hate, and even radicalization. Just to be clear, it's absolutely okay to write online that I don't agree with the government policies. That's totally okay. But it's not okay to promote people to burn down cell towers, to promote people to attack vaccine hubs, or maybe the democratic institutions of a country. How did we end up here? So I actually borrowed this picture for Our World in Data. As you see, 2004 until 2018, so we have to write a little bit on this one. Facebook is having this nice journey, and as you see, from the beginning in 2004 until 2012, everything is going slowly upwards. But if we look at it as it is today, and as you've seen, the World Data hasn't published that yet, so I had to take a pen and write it, so do with me. Because somewhere after 2019, we got a pandemic. And you can see the interest in social media is increasing. TikTok is formally exploding online, and Facebook is soon to be reaching 3 billion users. I think there are 2.8 billion users today. The politicians did not recognize social media as anything but entertainment and communication during this period. Few could imagine the potential as platform developed, grew, and changed, and merged. The growth of internet use, online habits, and the use of social media happen in a complete vacuum when it comes to rules and regulations. Just this published graph by World Data says it all. We see the development is massive. When the tech giants learned to monetize our personal data and how to collect more refined and detailed aspects of it, no one was paying attention. Facebook stepped from introducing the like button, you know, the thumb, until today we got 7 different emotions. It's not just for your fun. It's because Facebook want to know when you interact what you feel, because then they can use information, and all the tech platforms work the same. Now they don't only know if you want to engage with a post, but also if you make you laugh and make you angry or sad. And the different platforms use this knowledge aggressively to earn more money, actually. No one could anticipate the vast development of the social media platforms, and it took a long time before politicians realized that social media is not just for fun. Our leaders had underestimated the power. It's also fair to acknowledge that our policymakers and our politicians did not understand how social media platform works, and not how they use and abuse our personal data. They woke up when it was practically too late. When election has been meddled with, for some time, actually. When public opinion had been polarized to a point when it seems almost impossible to heal wounded societies. Lately, political leaders have started to try to regulate what tech giants can do and not with our personal data. But Facebook, for example, was fined with a $5 billion fee in 2019 for not being transparent enough with how their users' data was being handled, and for breaching the 2012 agreement on users' ability to control our own data. But such fines are addressing specific agreements and specific platforms. What is lacking is a broad approach on how to regulate the use of our personal data. EU are trying with the GDPR, as you probably heard of, but their efforts become toothless when the user, you and I, are still accepting different agreements online, and of course we do. Otherwise, we can't see the whole platform or the whole web page. So one conclusion is also that you and I need to learn how this works and how that affects us. But securing my personal data is only one step. That the algorithms are presenting us with vastly different types of messages, choosing to make us want to remain on the platform, that's a second. Oh, sorry, didn't pop up. Now I hope it pop up. The lack of political leadership in this matter has driven us into a situation where insecurity has increased and inclusiveness is absent. So my question is it possible to control the social media platforms when the world looks like this? Because it does. Is it possible to get a platform with 2.8 billion users that they actually call Facebook people today, so it's actually more like a continent, to actually change their behavior? If we need to do that, we have to be very convincing. The world map has changed, and the chance to influence the social media platforms is small to impossible. We have let this company build their business model on our data about us, our nakedness. They are not only let them use our data without thinking a second about it, authorities in the society hadn't recognized it as a challenge. During this last year and a half, social media got from entertainment and communication to the center of a COVID-adapted universe. The algorithms were piped with our search of information and reactions to situation online. Our worries and search for information made us easy target for disinformation. We saw posts on TikTok that urged people to burn down cell towers. That actually became a worldwide crisis when more than 300 telemasts were burned down in the world. Or disinformation such as drink bleach and you will cure COVID that actually resulted in death and injured people. When the global pandemic was a fact, disinformation got into overdrive online. Everything from magical made-up cures to theories that question if there was a pandemic at all spread in social media. And authority was pulling the alarm. Something needed to be done. But how? Meetings with social media platforms were held, and the result was that social media was for the first time censored in a larger scale. Online posts were removed or tagged with "this not might be true." You've probably seen it somewhere. Or user got blocked for spreading false information. The open and free social media became the platform for frustration and anger. And authorities around the world are now dependent on social media platforms' goodwill to actually follow these agreements. But there's hope that politicians realize that that is not the way to go. There's hope that political leaders realize that the massive impact of disinformation is actually dependent on algorithms. Recently, the US Congress, I think it was the Energy and Commerce Committee, discussed several proposals that strip tech companies from legal immunity against algorithmically recommended content. That's the content that you're going to be fed within social media. And today, political leaders are actually realizing that communication in social media is not only communication and fun. Politicians are starting to realize that the use of ranking algorithm is actually the root to many of the challenges we have today in society. And the ranking algorithms are made to maximize your engagement. That's the problem. This is the perfect environment for disinformation. And I realize that if we don't do anything about it, we're going to end up like computer-controlled animals sitting by the computer, and it's going to look something like that. Social media is not only fun, but could also be used as a cognitive weapon to actually control us to do stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah, for sharing those scary facts with us tonight. I must admit I was a little bit scared myself.
It's okay.
It was so fun, give away gifts, so I think I continue with that. And a little present to you too. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, now it's time for a 30 minutes intermission. Take the opportunity to stretch your legs and your minds and enjoy a bit of mulled wine and saffron bun. And be back in 30 minutes, please. Ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for session 2. And now I want to welcome the next speaker, Meleknur Alevjon, winner of Luleå University Technology Alumnus of the Year 2020. When small actions are taken by millions of people, it can change the world. She realized early that personal development is about helping others grow, and has through her life found the joy of helping others. Today, Meleknur runs a company, Angel Consult and Therapy, in Sweden that offers offline therapy for people from all over the world to help them improve their lives. She has called her speech, Monsters All Around Us. And I want to welcome you up on stage with a little Christmas tune.
Are you afraid of me? This question was asked by one of the sweetest and the kindest people I met when I was working at a mental support home here in Sweden. After being diagnosed with schizophrenia, he'd been completely isolated from society and he'd never hurt anyone, although he had lived in that home for almost all of his life. This question led me to write my psychology thesis about self-stigma among the people with schizophrenia. If you don't know the concept, self-stigma means internalizing public stigma, agreeing with the stereotypes and discrimination and applying them to oneself. And the devastating result of this is suffering negative consequences such as loss of self-esteem, self-efficacy, devaluing the self, or even social isolation. People create public stigma by, for example, saying that all people with mental illnesses are dangerous, or all people with schizophrenia are violent. When this happens, a person who is diagnosed with any kind of mental illness or schizophrenia starts believing that they are dangerous, even though they have no intention of hurting anyone. That's why the patient asked me the question as he did. Are you afraid of me? My answer was no, of course not. I enjoy working with you and providing the support you need. It makes me happy. After this conversation, he gifted me with a picture that he drew. I was raised in a small town, in a very loving and caring family, in a small town in Turkey. I was quite a popular kid at school, always got the best grades. I was social, happy. I was good at music, played several instruments. I even played basketball professionally. I know it's hard to believe when you look at my height now, but I can assure you that I'm a good player. I was lucky to have everything I needed. However, I always felt something was missing. I felt incomplete. When I was 17, I left home to study at university in Turkey's capital city, Ankara. And I began to seek that missing part by engaging in a lot of different activities and interacting with a lot of different people. I volunteered at a nursing home and in an orphanage in my spare time after school. I took care of abandoned dogs in an animal shelter. I recorded textbooks so that blind students could study. I volunteered in a special cafe where people with schizophrenia were given jobs so that they could be a part of society instead of isolating themselves at home. During my journey of searching for the part I felt was missing, I began to realize that I enjoyed helping others, and seeing progress in others simply made me happy. I also realized that I didn't need to go looking for a specific thing to fulfill me, because I'd already discovered what made me happy. That was the most important thing for me. You know that saying, the journey matters more than the destination. So when I got a scholarship to study psychology in Sweden, I kept helping people. And it was the same when I had another opportunity to study psychology at the State University of New York. It never mattered in which country I was or what kind of people I was surrounded with. There is always someone that you can help in some way if you really want to. So I continued my master's studies in Sweden. And when the coronavirus pandemic hit, I read in the newspapers that the nursing homes here in Sweden were refusing visitors, and the elderly were feeling lonely, isolated, depressed. I didn't hesitate for 1 second to start my volunteering services for online cognitive behavioral therapy to them, because I knew I had something to offer and could help in some way. At first, I reached out via Facebook by posting in a local group of Luleå that consisted of 17,000 members, and I received amazing supportive comments on my post. Within only 5 minutes, I received direct messages from people who needed my support, and that is how it all started. After that, I called the nursing homes directly to get the word out. Since most of the residents were over 70 years old, their staff graciously helped them to book appointments and set up digital meetings with me. Some of the residents knew how to use smartphones, so we could take the therapy treatments via FaceTime, Skype, WhatsApp, or even Zoom meetings. The response has been overwhelming. Over 100 people have booked in therapy treatments with me so far. I had a chance to meet a lot of amazing people, touch their hearts, and help them cope with isolation, depression, anxiety as much as I could. Their families have later contacted me to tell me the difference my effort has made. Some of them burst into tears while thanking me for helping their elderly family members, and they told me how hopeful and happy they become. And all the beautiful people I did therapy with were grateful that I offered this help for them. They also appreciated that we could make this possible thanks to the technology. Those of us who are in the field of psychology love analyzing things in order to understand the underlying reasons for a certain behavior. So I wanted to analyze myself and understand why helping others made me happy. I did a lot of research about it. Scientifically, there are several reasons why we feel good when we help others, but in particular, helping others can make our lives feel more meaningful, and it is emotionally rewarding. A recent article published in the Journal of Positive Psychology stated that altruistic people have a greater sense of purpose and meaning in their lives. Altruism is the unselfish concern for other people, doing things simply out of a desire to help, not because you feel obligated to. According to that article, giving to others and helping others can actually create a sense of meaning we are seeking, just like I was seeking. This was the reason why I felt complete when I helped others. Rather than ruminating on what makes our lives worthwhile, we can find the answer outside ourselves, in human connection. Although there are several other reasons why we feel good when we help others, in the end it really doesn't matter why we do it, but it's quite essential to just do it, both for ourselves and for others around us. Remember the picture I told you I received from my lovely patient who had schizophrenia? He told me that he drew this picture of himself safely inside the house, and the terrifying monster right outside. Do you know who the monster is? It's you. It's me. It's all of us. It's society. It's not fair that he feels he needs to isolate himself in his room for years because of a stigma that we have created. It's time to see the unseen. It's time to give a helping hand to those in need. Embrace racial diversity, ethnicity, sex, age, gender, religion, disability, mental illnesses. Let's start today. Let's do our best to help our surroundings. Let's live in harmony all together. Let's not be the monster. Thank you.
Thank you, Mellen Knut, for your knowledge and your inspirational speech.
Thank you.
I will be Santa to my granddaughter this year, and I think I'll need a little bit more practice.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Maybe I can leave.
Thank you.
Yeah.
As a conclusion for a very exciting and rewarding afternoon, I want to thank all the speakers, but also our fantastic audience, who I hope will meet again in more TEDx in the future. Before we start having a chance to mingle with the speakers and with the audience, I like to ask our volunteering group to come up to the stage for an applause. They have contributed to this event tonight, and we are very grateful that you are here and what you have made. Thank you very much. And right now, you can start mingling. Thank you.